Welcome back to A Reconnection, where we delve into to the intricate world of rare disease, aiming to foster understanding, support, and hope within the community. I'm your host, Joanna, and this week we have a remarkable guest whose passion and dedication resonate deeply with our mission. Joining us today is Layna, a devoted parent and unwavering advocate for individuals impacted by pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency, or PDCD. As a board member of Hope for PDCD, Layna's role span across fundraising, social media, management, and education, advocacy, and channeling her energy towards creating meaningful change within PDCD. Pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency, a rare disease disorder, carbohydrate metabolism, caused by one of three enzymes in pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency complex. Through Layna's live experience as a parent of a child with PDCD and her tireless efforts within the advocacy realm, she brings invaluable insights and perspectives to our conversation today. Together, we'll explore the intricacies of PDCD, its impact on individuals and families, and the vital importance of education, awareness, and support in navigation this rare condition. Moreover, we'll delve into Layna's journey, her motivations, and her visions for a future where those affected by PDCD find a solace, connection, and perhaps even breakthrough treatments. So tune in as we embark on this enlightening dialogue with Layna shedding light on her journey of hope, resilience, and rare connections. So can you share with us your personal journey and how it led you to become an advocate for pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me on today. So my daughter, Piper, she's 3.5 and she has PDCD. So our journey with PDCD started in 2020. I had her in September. We had a normal pregnancy, normal delivery. Everything was fine. And at the hospital, she failed her newborn hearing screen. And we were, devastated, thinking that our child might have to deal with being deaf. And then we went home. Everything else was fine besides that. And then, within the first couple of months of life, she just was not meeting milestones. She wasn't making eye contact. She wasn't interested in toys. She was just, we could tell something else was going on. So after the hearing loss diagnosis, then we started a bunch of more testing. She lost the ability to suck and swallow when she was about 3 or 4 months old. And then she shortly after had to go to feeding therapy for that. And then that ended up in her needing a G-tube to eat. So then we had been going down the road of microarray genetic testing, and that all came back without result. And then we went through whole exome sequencing, and that took 5.5 months to get those results back. And when she was about 10.5 months old, that's when we got those results that she has PDCD. We had no idea anything about PDCD. We had never heard about it, and we quickly tried to find community, find resources, figure out about the disorder. We live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we have a really great children's hospital right in Grand Rapids. So we have an amazing care team. And even with that being said, at the time, there was only one child besides Piper at the hospital seeing with PD. And yeah, now it's, 3.5 years into it, and we have had a lot of growth and acceptance, and we've found a lot of community, and I've gotten involved with the Board for Hope for PDCD. And there's a couple other families in this area that have been diagnosed with PDCD, and I just really feel strongly it's my mission to be a resource to newer families that are being diagnosed, because when we first got our diagnosis, we did not have a community at all, and there was no real presence on social media. And now we have a lot more of that, and this community is a lot more easily accessible. So that's the background.
So how was Piper diagnosed?
She was diagnosed through the whole exome sequencing testing. When she was about 3 to 4 months old, she had a brain MRI because of her just muscle tone issues, and she wasn't developing. And so then the brain MRI showed just a severe underdeveloped brain. And at that time, they thought maybe she had a stroke in utero and that it just stunted her brain development, and maybe that was the cause of her issues. And then, a few months later, we got the diagnosis through the whole exome sequencing test.
Mm-hmm. So, this is a carbohydrate thing. How does it differ from diabetes?
Well, so with PDCD, their bodies cannot process lactic acid. And so lactic acid is a byproduct of carbs and sugar. So it would be somewhat similar to like someone that has celiac disease can't have gluten because of how it reacts in their body. This is similar to that, but it can be deadly and lethal. They can go into lactic acidosis, metabolic stroke. There's a lot of really scary aspects of not being able to process lactic acid and not having that information to be able to go on the ketogenic diet, which the ketogenic diet is, high protein and fat and low carbs and sugar. And so then how that's different from diabetes is more related to your insulin and how your body can regulate your blood sugars. And this disease, they just literally can't process it.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced as a parent of a child with PDCD, and how do you how have you navigated through them?
Sure. So I will say emotionally and mentally, it was really hard to just accept our family, a lot of rare disease community. We don't really have many people in our family that have disabilities, especially not to the extreme that Piper. So a lot of time walking with our faith and trying to understand, God has a place Piper has a place in our family for a reason. Physical challenges related to her disease. It's really just the lack of ability to be able to, physically move her body and do things that a neurotypical 3-year-old would. She's wheelchair bound and she has wants and desires. We can tell that. We know her, but her body just can't do it to the extent that she wants to. And then more than that, her biggest challenge so far has been seizures. PDCD, maybe like 15 to 60% of the kids or patients with PDCD do suffer from seizures, and Piper is one of those. And we have been on a long journey to try to get those under control. she first started with infantile medication. She also started having focal seizures, which are presented as, tonic, rhythmic twitching of her limbs. And those, we had to try many, many different medicines. And now she's on a cocktail of seizure medicines, and her seizures are fairly managed right now. I wouldn't say it's much than a year ago.
Yeah. Your screen is freezing every once in a while. Let's see. And as a board member of Hope for PDCD, what initiatives or projects are currently focusing on, and what impact do you hope to achieve through them?
We have a lot of working on. We have a board of lots of parents and one parent with PDCD, and it kind of works out that we have some board because we can all take on different tasks, and we're all parents and we're very busy, but we want to seriously and make a difference for Hope for PDCD. The biggest reason why we were formed in the first place was because we wanted to privately fund gene research. There's a gene therapy research through AAV9 technology that is been around for 50 years, and PDCD is a really good piece for that. But study or progress being made on that in this community. So we and all different things to try to earn money to fund therapy research, which costs millions of dollars. So our foundation has been in existence for a little over a year, close to a year and a half, and we've raised over $1 million so far. We have a gene therapy study, a mice model study going right now at the University of Texas Southwest with Dr. Gray. And we have mice that are being born with PDCD, and they're monitoring them. And that's the first step in this process to get to clinical trial and to get this research underway with the mice model studies and everything. This is a years long, and our kids, we're racing against time. So that's the biggest thing that we're funding and focusing on. And then in conjunction with that, we are also fighting really hard to get PDCD added to the RUSP, the Recommended Universal Screening Panel in the U.S., so it can get added to the state newborn screenings for infants. Like I mentioned before, these kids have to go on the ketogenic diet. Most of the kids that have this that are severe enough need to go on the ketogenic diet, or at least a modified Atkins diet or something that's low carb, low sugar. And if you don't know that at birth, you're feeding your child breast milk or formula, and that may not be safe for them, and it could be exacerbating their disease. It could be lethal, and we're trying to avoid that. So I think we have a really strong case because it is vitally important to know that information as soon as possible. And we think that the PDCD community right now, it's a rare disease. They are guessing it's about 1 in 40,000, but because of the vast range of ways that can present and how severe or minor it could be, we think it's highly underdiagnosed. And the newborn screen would help that and show that. The other thing to mention with this is that with the newborn screening, are asking states to really just be, it's not a genetic test just for PDCD, it's to add the biomarkers for PDCD. So those would be biomarkers related to your muscle tone and things like that. So truthfully, if we could get this passed, it could potentially lead to other, information related to other mitochondrial diseases, not just PDCD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's already about 75 different conditions on the newborn screening in some states. It is currently being held up in Kentucky, but federally. Some states have passed it, though. Could you provide some insights into specific symptoms and manifestations of PDCD, and how it affects and how it affects affect individuals of day-to-day basics.
Yeah, there are a lot of different symptoms these patients can have. So for my daughter specifically, she hits almost every single one. There's developmental global delay. There's brain abnormalities. Very commonly, it's corpus callosum abnormalities. Seizures, like I mentioned. A lot of patients with PDCD also have Lee syndrome. Ataxia, general just exhaustion and fatigue and lack of energy. A lot of the kids have visual issues. So my daughter has cortical visual impairment, CVI. A lot of the kids have hearing issues. They have dysphagia, so they have a hard time eating solids and drinking. So a lot of them are on G-tubes. Let's see what else. Yeah, just general mobility problems. Yeah, there's a lot, and it's a very all-encompassing disorder as far as that goes.
So is Piper taking a medical formula, or?
So when she got started on the keto diet, we were admitted to the hospital for a week so they could slowly, start that diet process. And we were on a medical formula. And for whatever reason, just her body did not like it. And she was extremely fussy, which be common when you start the ketogenic diet for a week or two, but this was going on for weeks and weeks, and our dietitian just could not, we kept making tweaks here and there and adding supplements and taking things away, and she just was so sad and crying, and this was coming from a child that really never cried. And so we just determined, dietitian reached out to other dietitians throughout the country that did have more experience with PDCD patients, and she found out that some of the kids with PDCD they cannot process whatever it is that's in the medical formula. So because of that, we make her home blended diet ourselves with real food, and it's a keto formula recipe that our dietitian has given us, and she has been on that for over 2 years, and it's absolutely great. So her keto diet has, chicken, a vegetable, butter, olive oil, avocados, and coconut oil, and that's what her diet consists of.
Yeah. How do you balance the emotional toll of advocating for a rare disease while also being a caregiver for your child?
It's a lot. We have really great help, and we have really great family and friends that are there for us to support us. But yeah, my husband and I work full time, and then we have my daughter, and now we have a 9-month-old as well. So our plates are full, and emotionally, just keeping a positive outlook and trying to find the good in our situation and in Piper's life is vital. And early on, I realized that if you're focused on the negative and you're focused on the sad parts of, whatever it is that your child can't do or the struggles that they have, like all of those feelings are valid. But if that's all you focus on, you are missing out on the little blessings and the glimpses of all things that they can do. And I will say that every time that Piper is able to do something new or something that we never knew if she was going to be able to do, like that means so much. And it really is a miracle. So much more meaningful because we know just how hard that she had to work for them, and they don't just come naturally. And then there's how again, it's tough. And like I mentioned before, because we have such a great board at Hope for PDCD, it's kind of like we're all in our little boats. We're all throughout the country. We're in many different states, and some of us are stay-at-home moms, some of us work from home, some of us are fine. Like we're all across the board, right, with what our capacity is. But it seems like it works out where some of us are drowning at work and we can't do much for the foundation. Then the next month it's the opposite, and we just kind of help each other and try to balance as much as we can to keep the ball moving forward. And I'm so grateful for the group I'm involved with, because when we first got this diagnosis and we found that there really wasn't much being done to pursue any newer treatments. The only treatment right now that we have is the ketogenic diet, and that doesn't cure anything. It's just basically required for life. And to know that, it just feels so unsurmountable. Like how what am I supposed to do? Just, a mom and dad from Grand Rapids that has this daughter, we just don't know what to do next. So the group has been so vital for just moving the ball forward to our state representative and trying to get the word out on PDCD.
What role do you have? What role do you see education and awareness playing in improving outcomes for individuals with PDCD? And what steps do you take to enhance these efforts?
So educating the public on the disease is important, just because the more that you are aware of something and the more that is common knowledge and commonplace to hear, I feel like the woodwork to try to help and move the ball forward. And for families that are newly diagnosed, aspect and having resources available and having a patient registry, which is something that we're working on, and having a standards of care. There's a PDCD private Facebook group for parents and patients with PDCD. And so it is just constantly in there asking questions and have experienced this, and our doctor is saying that, but that doesn't sound correct. Like, does anyone have experience with that? There are a lot of PDCD that they don't live really close to a great medical institution, and they might be in a more rural community, and maybe their doctors are great people, but they haven't taken the time to really truly understand how complex that this disease is, and they're giving incorrect information and care. And so for a disease that is so complex, it is so important to have education and to have the resources even through an online avenue, so parents can educate themselves, try to ask the right questions and make sure that they're doing the right things. If you don't know what you don't know, and so without the education and the published research, parents are in the dark on what to do with their kids.
So, let's see. What role do you have in education and awareness playing in improving outcomes for individuals with PDCD, and what steps can be taken to enhance these efforts?
So my role is mostly advocacy. The more that I'm out there and talking about PDCD, hopefully the more people that will recall it and to memory of what it is, and that my daughter has it, and that we're fighting to find a cure or find treatments. And that's my role. So we do that in a variety of ways through a lot of information on our website, hopeforpdcd.org, but also through social media pages and doing Instagram lives and going to different rare disease events and writing our representatives. I mean, anything that you can think of to try to get the word out there and try to fight to legitimize the concern and just make people aware that we're doing that. We're trying to do everything that we can.
Right. And I know when we were at Rare Disease Week, there were some representatives who didn't even want to meet with us. So
Yeah, that's really disappointing when that happens.
Are there any recent advancements or developments in the field of PDCD research or treatments that you particularly, that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the genetic or the gene therapy research that we're working on is the biggest thing that we are fighting for. But like I said, it's going to be several years before that's an option or can even get to clinical trial if it proves to be efficacy. Besides that, I will say that there was a clinical trial for a drug called DCA, and the trial has now wrapped up, and it, I believe, is in the FDA's hands, or it will be submitted to the FDA soon for final approval. We don't really know what the outcome will be, of course, because it hasn't been published, but there was a blind trial. So for the participants that were enrolled, they received the DCA drug for half of the time, and then they've received the placebo for half of the time. And then the parents or patients themselves, if they're able, were asked to submit, their experiences and if they feel that their child was making any developmental milestones more than before. And so I know a lot of kids did have great response to that. So we're very hopeful it will get passed through the FDA, but we really don't know until that happens. There's a lot of other, therapies related to amino acids and all different kinds of things that are in the work too. But those aren't really, they haven't really started in our community yet. Another thing that for whatever reason, our disease is very responsive to vitamin B1. So it's also called thiamine. And some of the mutations are more thiamine receptive and some are not. But most patients are on that just because since it's just vitamin B1, it's not going to hurt them either way. So that can help with, the alertness and the cognitive abilities. And just if that helps, then that's great. A lot of the kids are on a different cocktail of other supplements and things that are catered to them. And yeah, a lot of the kids are on levocarnitine, which that's more related to the diet and the things that they need because they're on this diet.
As an advocate, what advice would you offer to other parents or individuals who are navigating the challenges of rare disease like PDCD?
I think first and foremost, you need a community. It's really hard to tackle anything in life when you feel like you're completely alone. When you can feed off of the energy and the excitement of other people that are going through the same thing as you, that is what feeds you. And that is what motivates you. And you just have to be the squeaky wheel. And being the squeaky wheel isn't a bad thing. One thing I've found in this community and being in a rare disease family now is that the medical world moves really slow and things take forever to be researched and then published and documented and approved. And then when that coincides with government, then it moves even slower because the government moves slow. You have to really be in it for the long haul and be able to be the squeaky wheel, but be patient and not get frustrated that things are going to take a while and you are not going to have a fix overnight. Early on when we were first diagnosed, we were asked to be a part of this trial I mentioned for DCA. And the closest hospital that was offering the trial was in Philadelphia at CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And I think that that's about like an 8 or 10 hour for us. And we were told that we had to go 4 times in person in 1 year span. Could we have done that? Yeah, absolutely. And we probably would have and should have. But our doctor that was talking to us about it said, that is a big commitment. I encourage you to do it if it's something you're interested in, but the trial is waning down. So it will probably be, ending and be approved soon. Well, because we were new to this whole world, we didn't know what soon meant. To us, soon might mean, the next year. And now it's been a couple of years and the trial has just ended and we don't even know the current status of it with the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
I think just knowing that you are going to be the best advocate for yourself or for your child if your child's the affected one. And whether that is with your care team, even if they're great and you trust them wholly, you still have to be the squeaky wheel because no one's going to fight for your child as much as you are. And no one's going to fight for your child's disease as much as you are because it means the most to you and you care.
Mm-hmm. This is backwards a little bit, but I know I have homocystinuria, but I know Danae, who's the executive director of HCU Network America, she posted, a while back that this was probably a few years ago. She said that there's the further east you go, there's more doctors for rare conditions, and that's probably true for the other rare conditions also.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know that CHOP in Philadelphia, they have, I think, one of the most robust mitochondrial movements there. So that is just where a lot of the mitochondrial research and metabolic geneticists and things are located. Mm-hmm. We're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, like I said. So in Cleveland, there's University Hospital, which we've gone to. There's an expert PDCD there. So we have gone and visited her. That's a lot less far to drive. I know that a lot of the other families live in California, and it seems like in California there are a ton of resources out there as well, which, I think is to be expected. But when it comes to rare diseases, if you have a rare disease or your child does, you might be having to travel to get to an expert. It's not like there's going to be an expert for every single rare disease within, a small commute of your home.
Definitely true. As we draw it to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Layna, for sharing her inspiring journey and insights to pyruvate dehydrogenase complex deficiency. Are you and your contributions to the PDCD community are really commendable. To listen to if you are touched by Layna's story and want to learn more about PDCD, I encourage you to visit hopeforpdcd.org. There you'll find valuable resources, information, and opportunities to support this important cause through donation. When we share stories like Layna's and that amplify our voices, additionally, stay connected with Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for updates and discussions on rare disease advocacy efforts. For those who prefer shorter snippets or want to catch up, don't forget to check out TikTok and YouTube Shorts available the next day. And if you want to, and if you are an advocate listener, you can also find the audio version of Rare Connection on most podcasting station platforms by simply searching Rare Connection. Lastly, if you like to support Rare Connection podcast directly, you can contribute by visiting https www.buzzsprout.com/22044433 supporters/new. Your generosity helps to contribute to continue bringing these important conversations to light and making a difference in the rare disease community. Thank you to all for tuning in. And until next time, stay informed, stay connected, and stay hopeful. Together, we can create a bright future to those living with rare diseases. Thanks, John.